I'm live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. I know I am fashionably late today because it is Valentine's Day, and to show myself a little self-love, I treated myself to one of my favorite lunches. There's an amazing deli here in my town that everybody knows about, and I was just so craving it today. And that's one of the ways that you can show self-love to yourself is don't go crazy with the cravings, but honor your body and honor your well, I guess what you're craving, right? Cravings. So I am a little fashionably late because of that, but I wanted to come in today because we are talking about Valentine's Day. Well, in particular, we see hearts all over the place, and February is actually Heart Health Month. So this is a really key topic because as I put in the caption on Facebook, that about 1 in 4 deaths in men and 1 in 5 deaths in women is caused by heart disease in particular. So there's cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, inflammation, myocarditis. There's so many different facets of heart disease. And so, what I'm going to talk to you about today is some of the things that you can do as preventative measures, some of the nutrients that are really important for you to have so that your heart remains healthy. Obviously, some nutrition, and I'm going to talk about some lab markers that you can put into the doctor so that you can kind of keep an eye on how your heart health is. But with that, I'm going to go into who I am. Hello, my name is Drew Mulvey. I am a certified dietitian nutritionist, board certified nutrition specialist, and certified integrative sports nutritionist. But really, I am the vitality specialist, well, really getting down to the cellular level as well as the physiological and mental level to be able to bring you the most abundance and a thriving life. Not only a thriving life, but really being able to reach your athletic performance goals and to reach your life goals as well. I do this through a bunch of different modalities that I put a program together in order to systematically approach each and every facet of lifestyle to be able to bring you that full abundance and that your cells are actually functioning at their optimal level. You're functioning at your optimal level. So with that, I do offer a free 1 hour strategy session. The link is going to be in the bio in Instagram, and I'm going to put that link down in the comments below for those of you that are on Facebook. I would absolutely love to speak with you. These are some of the tools that I have gained for several years, and from that, these tools have brought me from having an autoimmune condition at one time to being very bedridden, very sick, to completing an Ironman 70.3 in faster than my goal time last year in September, and a really difficult one where, oh my gosh, the weather was just not nice to us. So that was my goal. That was kind of my promised land. So, in particular, let's talk about heart health, whether you are an athlete or a non athlete. Actually, athletes, especially those that are training for things like this, you really do have to keep a close eye on your heart health. Because yes, exercise is very important, your cardiovascular exercise. So walking, I believe it's the CDC, but it's recommended that you get about 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week and about 3 days of strength training. But that aerobic exercise is really important for your cardiovascular system. So pumping blood out of your heart and getting those nutrients around to your body is really important, particularly oxygen. But if you're not doing those things, then that can actually start to inflame the body a little bit. So, movement actually decreases inflammation in the body. And that's why it's so important that we hear about taking all these steps, getting up every hour, because that movement, our body is designed to move and it decreases inflammatory proteins. It also improves insulin sensitivity. That's really super important because when you're more insulin sensitive, you have better blood glucose regulation. And not having proper blood glucose regulation can actually impede your heart's basic rhythm. So it can have an impact on your heart. So very important that you are insulin sensitive and that you do have decreased inflammation just by something very small, the movement. But when you're an athlete, particularly training for something that is as big as this, those can generate reactive oxygen species. So reactive oxygen species is technically another name for inflammation. And what that does is it can go around your heart, it can go around your body, it can hinder recovery, and then eventually it can cause issues with your heart. And actually, we've heard of this before, that people don't make it to the finish line when they're doing a marathon, or they collapse on the bike or something like that, is because if you're not doing the right things for your body and you're not recovering properly and decreasing that inflammation, it really can have an impact. So, what are some of the things, whether you are an athlete or not, that you can do to kind of monitor how your heart health is and kind of monitor the whole cellular aspect of how everything is going? Well, on a typical test, there are a few markers that you can look at, particularly C-reactive protein and homocysteine. Homocysteine can also be elevated not only in cardiovascular, I shouldn't say trauma, but when there's any sort of cardiovascular disease. But homocysteine, it's an inflammatory compound that can also indicate that there is some sort of neuroinflammation as well. So that's linked, high homocysteine is actually linked to Alzheimer's and dementia, not only just heart health. So really being able to monitor your homocysteine levels is going to be really important. Another one is C-reactive protein and any sort of inflammatory markers. So C-reactive protein, any sort of inflammation can contribute to that heart disease, and particularly there's myocarditis, atherosclerosis, those inflammatory conditions that we really want to pay attention to. Other markers that we want to pay attention to are B vitamins. Why particularly B vitamins? Well, B vitamins, B1, B2, B3 are responsible for our energy production. So the production of ATP, and that's really important for mitochondrial health, which helps us to produce that energy. So the B1, B2, B3, that basically helps the electron to go down this electron transport chain and then help us to produce that ATP. Now, if we're not producing enough energy in our cells, then that can also inhibit our heart from being able to pump properly. That means it has to work overtime, and that's where things can kind of be a little mishap down the line. But you also need proper energy pathways or proper energy to be produced in order for your liver to clear out compounds that could be toxic to you. So any sort of toxins, excuse me, I can't talk today, toxins that could be in your body, because that's really important, because when they start circulating, then that could also increase inflammation. So we really want to make sure that our B vitamins we're on top of our game with our B vitamins. But also, I was talking about homocysteine before, vitamins B6, B12, and folate. There's also methionine too, so that's an amino acid. But those are important for the clearance of homocysteine, for basically the metabolism of homocysteine, so that it doesn't start to elevate and then it creates an inflammatory cascade. So checking your B12, checking your folate levels, checking B6, so that could be different markers on your blood tests. There are also alternative tests that you can look at too. Speaking of alternative tests, okay, how about that? What's the deal with cholesterol, and what's the deal with particularly saturated fat and all of these things? Because I get this question a lot. So unless you have familial high cholesterol, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be contributing to any sort of heart disease if there's any imbalance of cholesterol. So here's the thing. When there is inflammation, the body actually produces a little bit more cholesterol, particularly LDL, because it actually acts as an anti-inflammatory. Now, there's different subsets of LDL particles. Some of them are big and fluffy, and then some of them are itty bitty. It's the itty bitty ones that we kind of have to worry a little bit more about, because those are the ones that can kind of get lodged in the arterial wall and then create that inflammation, that atherosclerosis in particular. But not all LDL is bad. And there is a lab that it's called Berkeley Lab, and it actually looks at the sizes of the LDL particles. So if it has come up on your tests that you have high cholesterol, I would highly suggest looking into this to kind of see the particle size, to see how much you are at risk of developing heart disease from that. So does cholesterol necessarily contribute to heart disease? It could, but it might not. A lot of the times it's linked to saturated fat. Now I believe it was in my course that I talked about this. It was in one of the PowerPoints I gave a presentation on about this. And the saturated fat, yes, we need saturated fat. Our phospholipid bilayer, so on our cells, we need that saturated fat. We need saturated fat for our brain to function properly. But the problem with saturated fat is, yes, because it is solid at room temperature, it can sometimes increase LDL levels. Now, does that mean that it is considered unhealthy for the heart? Not necessarily. Saturated fat depends on where it's coming from and the composition of where it's coming from, particularly if you're getting farm raised animals compared to conventionally raised animals. Why is that? Well, let's just say that the conventionally raised ones that are given things that they don't normally eat, that inflames the heck out of the animal, let alone the stress of the animal is given a lot more inflammation. There's a lot more stress hormones in there. And then that goes into the fat. So you're eating that. Now, when it comes to farm raised, where they've been roaming around the grass, they're happy, they're being fed the right things. That's going to be a completely different composition of what's in their fat. More than likely, less toxins are going to be in that saturated fat. So we want to keep into account quality here. But it's also not necessarily that. There are other things that are contributing to this inflammation and the LDL cholesterol being elevated, particularly eating too much sugar, because that really places a lot of strain in the adrenals. And when cortisol gets pumped out, that creates less insulin sensitivity. Remember, I was talking about that before. That blood sugar dysregulation can actually increase inflammation, and that can also affect the heart in particular. And then inflammation can go up. So there's a direct correlation there. But it's also hydrogenated oils, or oils that our body really doesn't recognize, that can be super pro-inflammatory. Hydrogenated oils are trans fats, and that's what's contributing more to the problem, that it is something that is not natural, that our body has not seen before. I think it was the 1950s, which margarine was like the first hydrogenated oil, I want to say. So it's more of those, and then some seed oils like cottonseed oil, rapeseed oil, soy oil. We see all of these different oils, and they can be a little bit more pro-inflammatory. When it comes to fatty acid ratios, there are different fatty acids. There's monounsaturated, I talked about saturated, and then there's PUFAs. So I call them PUFAs. Things that makes me think of puffins, but okay, PUFAs. So polyunsaturated fatty acids, that's omega-3 and omega-6. Omega-6 is going to be a little bit more pro-inflammatory. Omega-3 is going to be a little less, well, it's going to be anti-inflammatory and anti-clotting. We need to normally have those in a 4-to-1 ratio, because we still need to have clotting. We still, if we get a cut, we're going to bleed out if we don't clot. So it is very important to have those omega-6s, but it needs to be balanced out with omega-3s. Now, in our society, we're eating so many omega-6s that it's a 20-to-1 ratio to omega-3s, and that's throwing the whole balance of good fats in your body off, which could be definitely contributing to inflammation. So another thing that you want to incorporate too, there are tests that you can check your fatty acid ratios and your fatty acid index to see where you're at, so you can see if that inflammation is contributing to your heart health and how healthy your heart is in particular. I really love incorporating some wild caught fish. I'm a big fan of sardines. So having those omega-3s, particularly those that are athletes, that are intense athletes, incorporating those. There's flaxseed oil, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds. The hemp seeds and the pumpkin seeds, they also give other nutrients that are really beneficial as well, not just the omega-3 fatty acids, but there's also magnesium in the hemp seeds and the pumpkin seeds, as well as zinc. Pumpkin seeds are a very good source of zinc, which is great for hormonal balance. It's important for the production of hydrochloric acid, so that you're digesting your proteins. Well, we're digesting your food properly, but particularly zinc is important for enzymes that digest proteins, so for protein digestion as well. So you want to incorporate some of those in. But magnesium is really important for energy pathways, which I was talking about before, that if you're not producing energy properly, then that is just going to cause a lot of issues. Your body's not going to be clearing things out from intense exercise. Your body's just not going to be, your heart, first off, if you're not generating enough energy and you're working yourself to the bone. I'm really hoping that you're not working yourself to the bone, but you're pushing yourself in the gym. If you don't have energy, you're going to get fatigued faster because your heart rate is going to spike up faster. And then that could potentially, if you keep going like that, it could increase inflammatory proteins and that could affect your heart. So again, you want to be able to make sure that you are producing enough energy. Some other key factors in energy production are CoQ10 in particular. CoQ10 is right at the beginning of the Krebs cycle, which starts the whole cycle for energy production. CoQ10 is usually decreased in those that are on statins, so I highly recommend that you get a good CoQ10 supplement if you are on statins, but still please talk to a licensed professional about that and to your doctor. CoQ10 is really, really huge. Usually those at statins, they complain about joint pain. If you're not producing enough energy, then you're going to be feeling that joint pain. So really important that you have that CoQ10. Another really important nutrient to include is carnitine. So there is something called the carnitine shuttle, and it's basically the ability of your body to convert fat into energy. And that is in a lot of people, especially those with chronic health conditions, that shuttle is not functioning properly and you're not able to convert that energy properly. So incorporating carnitine, it's specifically 500 milligrams to about 1,000 milligrams is where you want to be with the carnitine to give you that energy. So then that's providing energy for your heart as well. So it's not having to overwork. That's what really we have to pay attention to, is that it's not super, super overworking. Now there's lifestyle things too. We talk about sleep. Sleep is a big one because if our sleep is interrupted, then that can decrease our ability to regulate blood glucose. So it does have an impact on our insulin sensitivity. It can release inflammatory proteins because any alteration in circadian rhythm can signal to the body that it's under stress. And then stress hormones tend to go up. With those stress hormones coming up, it's a nice little cascade. So of course, we want to be able to sleep well. So between 7 and 9 hours roughly. But other lifestyle things that are going to be really important, and in traditional Chinese medicine, the heart is linked to excitement, but it's also linked to just being on edge. So what you want to be able to do is, okay, so one of my favorite professors actually told the class that we have an epidemic of a lack of vitamin J, and that is joy. So making sure that you have something in your routine every single day that brings you joy. Going out into nature. There have been studies that have been found that people that go, I think it was out of Japan, that people have gone forest bathing. So they left everything behind and their productivity went up, their inflammatory markers and their blood pressure actually went down too. So having nature as part of your recovery and part of your heart healthy plan is going to be essential. Now, it can be a little bit harder for those that are here in the Northeast in the wintertime. So some ways to counteract that, having plants around your house. And actually, sometimes I pet the plants. I do. I pet the plants sometimes, and it's very soothing. It's very satiating for me. There's essential oils that you can incorporate. So I have usually my essential oil diffuser running with some sort of lime. That's very great for mood. So anything that's going to help to boost your mood could actually decrease inflammation and very much help your heart. There are grounding mats, grounding pads, grounding sheets now. So basically what that does is that you're not touching nature, but you're as close to it as possible. And what that does is it decreases inflammatory proteins. It can help with recovery and it can boost your mood, obviously. So you're going to be a much happier person. Happy heart, happy life. Right. I know it's usually happy wife, happy life, but happy heart, happy life. Those are some of the things that you can incorporate too, making sure that you have relationships that are pouring into you and that are making you thrive. Trauma is a big thing. I do highly recommend if you've had trauma in your past, seek out a licensed professional to work through that trauma because your body is actually going to reap the benefits from it. It can actually decrease inflammation. So all that energy is finally released that has been kind of chilling out there for a little bit. Now, when it comes to foods that I really like that are heart healthy, omega-3 fatty acids, so that's going to be from your fish, in particular your wild caught fatty fish, so salmon. I love sardines. There's mackerel, there's herring, there's wild caught tuna. Now, make sure the tuna is sustainably sourced and it's from a good source. Do not get it from China. Please do not get it from China. And I'm not so big on farm raised. I know that unless it's from Whole Foods or it's from a natural food store, that they know the source of it, because really those fish are swimming around in their own stuff, and they're usually swimming around in carcinogens, and the things that they're eating, it's just not good for your body. So really pay attention to the quality of that. But there's also omega-3 fatty acids from plant-based sources. It's not going to be as bioavailable, but it's still going to do a job in terms of decreasing inflammation. So that's going to be your hemp seeds, your flax seeds, your chia seeds, and your pumpkin seeds and walnuts in particular, plus green leafy vegetables, and avocados have some omega-3 fatty acids. Other heart healthy foods, so beets, anything that's red, if you think about it, that's going to really help with your blood. Beets help with your blood because they have something well, they help to produce nitric oxide in your body. So what they do is they help to dilate the blood vessels so that your heart is not going to be working as hard. For those of you that are athletes, women in particular, there's a time in your cycle where you do want to incorporate the beets before your workout, but for most of the time, you actually want to have the beets after your workout just because of the way that the hormones manipulate how your blood vessels are, because you can dilate them too much and then that would just create low heart rate, and then that can actually overwork your body as well. I have talked about that, so please be sure to check out my YouTube videos as I discussed a little bit about hormones impact different physiological parameters when it comes to your athletic performance. Other heart healthy foods, we talk about whole grains and we talk about beans in particular. Why is that? Because beans and whole grains, they have particular fibers, particularly soluble fiber that helps to decrease LDL levels, which, as I said, they may be contributing to that, the health of your heart. Now, if you are doing paleo or you have issues with like beans and grains, fruits and vegetables, a lot of soluble fiber, a lot of insoluble fiber. That's just going to capture the cholesterol. Garlic in particular captures that cholesterol. It's very high in antioxidants. I mean, it's an antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal. I mean, garlic, go crazy with the garlic. That's definitely a functional food that you want to incorporate as well. So other heart healthy foods, I know I'm only giving you like a couple of them. As I said before, anything that's high in B12, B6 in particular, so that's going to be your avocados, your sweet potatoes, your green leafy vegetables. I mean, your green leafy vegetables in all respects. So organic green leafy vegetables are going to be some of the most nutrient dense foods that you can incorporate into your nutrition plan, whether you are an athlete or not, to really help with that heart health in particular. Oh, bananas are a really good source of B6. Peanut butter. So if you get some organic peanut butter, some peanut butter that is actually natural peanut butter and not the other stuff. So a lot of the peanut butters actually have hydrogenated oils in them, and I was talking about that before, that those are more inflammatory and that can also affect your heart health. I'm thinking of what I have before a big race, and I've actually been craving this, is a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Oh my gosh. That is not only emotionally satisfying, but that can be very good for your energy pathways, actually very good for your heart too. Who knew? Peanut butter and banana. Elvis had something going. Okay, and then the last one that I want to leave you with that is a great functional food for heart health is chocolate. Since it is Valentine's Day, chocolate, I make an excuse for chocolate. I have it every single day, and I got a look this morning from somebody that yes, I do. I have chocolate every single day. And why is that? Chocolate is very high in antioxidants in particular that help with your brain, that help with your heart, and that's actually going to be conducive to your athletic performance and your athletic goals, as well as it's emotionally satisfying too. So enjoy the dark chocolate today. It's for Valentine's Day. I really love dark chocolate covered cherries. And cherries also are another functional food that really help with decreasing joint pain and decreasing inflammation. So that handedly can actually help your heart. Um, Chocolate is also another, like beets, it helps to produce nitric oxide, so it helps to dilate those blood vessels. So it's going to help you with nutrients being delivered to your muscles, particularly nutrients being delivered to your heart a heck of a lot quicker and kind of leveling out your heart rhythm. It's also a good source of magnesium, as I talked about, that's really important for your energy pathways and really important for calming you down. That's a huge one. If you're not calm, then your heart is usually beating really fast. So you want something that's going to be calming down the central nervous system. Plus, it's a good source of serotonin, too. And serotonin is your feel good neurotransmitter. So I am giving everybody full reign to just enjoy your chocolate today and really love on yourself today. All right, so these are some of the things that I talked about. So just kind of a quick recap about heart and heart disease, that even if you are an intense athlete and normal person, you still need to monitor these things, particularly if you are an intense athlete, because you're generating a lot more inflammatory proteins, and that can affect your heart even more than the general population. So some of the labs that you want to pay attention to, particularly on like your regular CBC, you want to pay attention to C-reactive protein, homocysteine in particular. Insulin is going to be a good one because, as I said, any sort of blood glucose dysregulation is also going to increase inflammation, which could affect your heart. You want to take a look at your B vitamins, iron in particular, because iron helps to bind oxygen. I didn't say that before. And then that helps to, your whole body needs oxygen, particularly your heart and your brain. So iron, I think those were the main ones. And then there are some alternative tests to be able to check the other B vitamins, and particularly it's to check the LDL. So cholesterol levels are going to be another one. But you don't want to go just by what your regular labs actually tell you. There's something called from Berkeley Labs that it's going to tell you like the particle sizes, and then that's going to give you a better indication of how the LDL is affecting or contributing to any sort of heart disease. Some of the nutrients that are really beneficial for energy production and your heart, that's going to be your CoQ10, all of your B vitamins, so B1, B2, B3 are really important for energy production. B6, B12, and folate help to metabolize homocysteine in particular, so that decreases inflammation. I said CoQ10, magnesium is part of the energy pathways, as well as there was one more that I talked about, but those are the main ones that you kind of want to incorporate. Some of those foods incorporate sources of vitamin B6. So that would be sweet potatoes, avocados, bananas. Oats are actually a good source of B6. Chocolate is a good source of B6, and any of your green leafy vegetables. Anything that's green is going to have magnesium in them, so then that's going to really help your heart because it helps with that smooth muscle contraction and it'll decrease your heart rate so that you kind of maintain a good heart rate, steady heart rate. Other foods that are important are your omega-3 fatty acids in particular, so balancing out the omega-6s and the omega-3s, particularly from wild-caught fatty fish. And then there are plant-based sources, so flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, your green leafy vegetables, avocados have a little bit of omega-3 in them, and walnuts. So the first ones, plus the walnuts, are the best ones for omega-3 fatty acids. That's going to be anti-inflammatory, and it's going to be anti-clotting as well. And some of the lifestyle things, adding things every day that are going to bring you joy, bring nature to you if you can't go out into nature. So essential oils or grounding, or as I said, I pet plants. Why not pet a plant today? And really making sure that you're sleeping well, that you have a good environment where the breathing exercises are going to be a huge one. Making sure that you're moving, so walking. Even those of you that do intense exercises, walking will actually help to decrease the inflammatory proteins and will help you to recover more. I know this firsthand. I started incorporating more steps into my plan even when I was training, and I was recovering a heck of a lot better, and I felt a lot better. So that movement is actually going to get crap out of your system instead of training really hard for 3 hours, sitting the rest of the day, and then training really hard for 3 more hours. So getting that movement in particular. Okay. All right, so that is the recap. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I am Drew Mulvey. I'm a certified dietitian, nutritionist, board certified nutrition specialist, and certified integrated sports nutritionist. But really, overall, I am the vitality specialist, integrating integrative and functional medicine protocols into programs that really help the individual to thrive, to reach their athletic potential and their life potential, and so that they're truly thriving and they're transforming. Now, if that sounds like you, if you really have been confused about how to use nutrition or how to use these lifestyle factors, or really you've been pushing yourself to the side and you haven't been getting the most out of all these things, or you don't really know what's going on inside of your body, I would absolutely love to speak with you. I said this today that I do have a free 1 hour strategy session. You can bring your labs to me. So bring your blood tests to me and I can analyze them and I can kind of give you a little bit of a snapshot of what's going on metabolically for you and give you some recommendations to help your heart. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, I hope that you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Enjoy all the chocolate, the dark chocolate that you can. That's going to have some antioxidants. Obviously, you don't want to go so overboard, but really enjoy yourself today. Pamper yourself. Show yourself some love. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day and have a wonderful Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.